Hello everybody, and welcome to the first chapter of my book, No One Famous. That's me, by the way. The first chapter I'm going to concentrate on is just basically the 70s, the 80s, and growing up, where I did. May 1972, that's when I was born. Now, I don't know this, I'm getting this by second-hand knowledge, so I wasn't some sort of psychic, but I was told my mother was upstairs in the house they still live in now, up in Prestine Avenue, up in Tontegg. Agonising pain. I wasn't coming out. It looked too big, too scary. I don't like it. Didn't like it. My dad was across the road. We were in a neighbour's house, pacing around. I did have a sister, and I don't know where she was, obviously, because I wasn't born and I was unaware of her existence. But there we go. So my mother's given it all she's got. I was putting up a hell of a fight. So, like, a midwife back then, stern ladies, like, push, Mrs. Morgan, push. And, like, bang. Well, not bang, I don't know if it was an explosion. Could have been anything. And out I came. And the midwife held me up, and congratulations, Mrs. Morgan, it's a boy. You'd never guess. And you know what my mother's response was? I couldn't give a damn if it was a duck. Cheers, Mum. So, after all sweat and tears on everybody's side, I was born into the world a duck. Could have been worse. Looking back on my childhood, it was a good one. It was a good one. I had a Welsh father and an Irish mother. What more could you ask for? It was a brilliant Celtic background, good strong blood. I have a sister called Claire. She was 4 years older than me. So it took me a while to get used to her and like have her around because I didn't know who she was. My parents had moved to Wales a few years before I was born. I think they moved up to Wales in about 1970, 1971. And they still actually occupy the same house as what they've got now. It was a small cul-de-sac, 21 houses, sort of like, in a cul-de-sac just in the end. And at one end, playing fields, cricket field, rugby field, and a field which they didn't quite know what to do with. Over the years, it changed from a golfing pitch and putt, mini football, I think was there. I don't know, but yeah, it's just been a field, and it was really, really nice place to live. As I grew up, obviously as you do when you're born, you grow up. My first memories, some of my first memories, when we went to nursery, preschool, or whatever you like to call it these days, we went to the local town just down the road called, not town, little village just across the field, called Llantwit Vardra. And over there was this small chapel at the end of the rugby pitch. Doesn't exist anymore, unfortunately. I think they tore it down several years ago and made it into a car park. Yay, progress. But it was a lovely little chapel type village hall place. And we got walked over there by discerning mothers, got dumped off so they could run off and do what mothers needed to do. And it was a pretty good time, as long as you run around and you drank your milk. Little small bottles of warm milk. They didn't really mind it, but I think you had a kip at some point as well. I always remember once, I can't remember how old I was, granted. It was a fancy dress. And all the kids got together in fancy dress. And you were allowed running around outside and stuff. And I can't remember what I went to as, I can't remember. But I do remember there was this one kid. He was dressed in like sort of karate outfit, martial arts outfit. And he just went around like pretending he was the next Bruce Lee, karate chopping people and shouting "Hi-ya!" at people a lot. And I just remember this one other kid, he dressed as a cowboy. he must have just got really pissed off with this kid running around and karate chopping and doing kicks, and just walked up to him and just kicked him straight in the nuts. The other guy went down like a sack of shit. It was great. But yeah, bizarrely, that's one of my earliest memories. That and warm milk. Bizarre, isn't it? Growing up in the 70s and 80s, it was a great time. It really was. It was a fantastic time. You know, you hear us oldies talking about it. You know, you could leave your doors open. People used to come around and have a chat, walk on in, have a drink. Kids, if you wanted, like, you know, go out for you go. It's fine. You know, your neighbours turned into auntie so-and-so and uncle so-and-so. They weren't your aunties and uncles, but because there was such a close bond of community spirit back then, it worked. It really worked. You know, every Sunday or now and again, the local religious holy man, depending on what religion you were, used to pop around for a cuppa and all that sort of stuff. A piece of cake and see how you were going. It was really good. Like, you know, it was really good. Like I said, going back, I don't have many memories as such. I think 1977 was one of the big years. It was for Queen's Golden Jubilee. Now, back then, street parties were huge. They were massive. They were really, really big affairs. And the Queen's Golden Jubilee was no exceptions. And we had a huge street party. Now, what these involved were, and these were happening all over the place, literally all over the country as far as I was aware. Every person got table, chairs, slapped them all down the middle of the high street, middle of your street, covered them with cheap paper coffee, like paper or plastic table covers, and then supply as much food and pop as possible. I think fancy dress was on the line as well, so you could dress up if you wanted to. But like us kids could just run around and fill our faces full of crap and fizzy drinks. So many additives and colourings and E-numbers. It'd probably kill an elephant today, but back then, no one gave a shit, and it was great fun. It was really good. It was really good. Growing up as well. As I've already said, but I was growing up. Sorry if I keep on looking down. By the way, it's like that. I should be like don't worry about it. Anyway. Major changes around our estate, huge estates when I was growing up. Shopping centres were being built. The new fad was big shopping centres, and like, you know, supermarkets and stuff like this. It was pretty mad. We also, for Tonteg, we had forgotten. We had a sports centre being built. Like, you know, we had a sports centre being built, and a bottom consisted of a poxy little gym, a hall, and 2 squash courts. I think it wasn't. That was about it. It was a massive place, but fuck, you know, damn, it was good. Unfortunately, one place they did leave alone up there was the local, well, we used to call it a council estate back then. I don't know what they call it these days. And it was called Kaivadra. Now us kids used to call it the Bronx, because literally it was a shithole. It was an awful. It was a concrete jungle. I don't know what the people were like. It had its reputation, burned out cars every other Saturday night, drug running, big gangs, fights. But it's only a few people, isn't it? Yeah, but the building sites around it, there was, so with Sports Centre, about 5 o'clock each day, us kids used to pile down there after the blokes had gone, and they didn't have the health and safety which they have now. And if you went down there at R5, you'd find like a load of kids swinging off scaffolding and throwing hammers at each other. No one cared as long as you went home and had your dinner. No one cared. It was really, really good fun. When the sports centre was completed after a few years, They started doing something, a roller disco. Yeah, roller disco was awesome. Now, I don't know if this was a local thing or if it was some sort of mad craze that swept the nation. I don't know. But the idea was basically a bunch of kids go down there, you paid your quid or whatever it was, 50p. You rummaged through a cardboard box to try to find 2 roller skates, which either matched or fitted you, either or, any result was good. And then, excuse me, and then skate around in circles for an hour, listening to cheesy 80s pop music. It seemed fun at the time. Our leisure centre did a fantastic thing, which I'm not quite sure where the idea came from, but at the roller discos they decided to put up a bouncy castle. Roller skates, bouncy castle. I don't know who or what came up with that idea, but again, when you got a bunch of kids racking around in a circle and then think, you know what, I'm gonna go on a bouncy castle. I think I ended up with a black eye on one of those ones because I jumped on it, and it's yeah, mad. But as you get older, you couldn't go out and play as much because you had to do the dreaded thing of going to primary school. Primary school, nightmare. The school I went to was a school called St. Michael's, which was a Catholic church on account I was brought up Roman Catholic. It was a bit further away from the nursery, you couldn't walk there. We got buses, I think buses, or my mum used to take us. No, buses, definitely buses. And it was just down the road in Treforest. Oh, well, Treforest, there we go. If you're au fait with Wales and Treforest, where the university is now, if you look over the other side of the road, you'll see a couple of rugby pitches and a school. That's St. Michael's. Yeah, and it was good. I had to catch a bus with my sister. It was a bus because I remember going with my sister now. She is 4 years older than me, so she was there for a while before I was. So every morning you had to get downstairs, have your breakfast, and then we used to walk up a big sod off hill to the bus station, jump on a bus and go for 3-4 miles to school and dropped off. But my sister, I don't think, was too happy with that to a certain degree, because walking up the road with her little baby brother, and the thought of doing that constantly for the rest of her natural board days, I think filled her with dread. But she did it anyway. She had to. She had no choice. Now, for loads of kids, then, now, future, school is an absolute nightmare, isn't it? It's a horrible predicament, horrible place to go. So, but I was no exception. I hated the idea of going to school and doing what you had to do. I was also even mortified for the tradition of drinking warm milk. It was firmly in place. Didn't know anything about calcium back then or anything like that, and how it protected you and blah blah blah. No, we still had to drink this bloody milk. But we kept on doing it. First or second day though, I made an impression. I got told off for sink running. It was sink running. Now this was going into the toilet, climbing up onto the sink, and then running across the sinks to the other end and then jumping off the other side. Don't know why I started it, don't know why I did it. It seemed good, fun at the time. So but I always seemed to get caught. It was weird. So after being told off, once I got dragged in and said, right, Phil, by the teachers, they said along the lines of yeah, right, Phil, there's a new chap in school. He hasn't got any friends. He comes from a place called Nelson, and his name is Jason. Now, at the time, I didn't know him. No one did. He knew guy. But this guy would end up being one of my closest friends through school years. I met him. I made friends with him. He wasn't as good at sync running as I was. Or was it the fact that he was better than me because he never got caught and I did? I don't know. But yeah, one of my first lifelong friends. Well, school stroke college friends at least. Yeah, mad primary school. As I said to you before, I was brought up Roman Catholic, and God was big on the agenda. Oh, I mean, he was like, very big. Like every week or every month, you were frog marched from the school down to local church, St. Dufferig's, and you get to sit in this dark room with a grate. See, look, there's a grate, with a bloke on the opposite side. Excuse me, and you couldn't see him. And you had to sit there and tell him your sins, stuff you had done wrong. Now, as a small kid, like, fair enough, you started to get a bit petrified about it all. But after a while, you just think, after the first couple of weeks, you run out of things to say. You literally run out of sins because you don't know. So we used to have a running competition. Because for every sin you told and stuff, they used to say, right, go outside and do 5 Hail Marys and 6 Our Fathers, or say a lot of prayers, and your sins will be cleansed. Praise be. So we used to make lies up about the lies because we didn't know what to say. The standard ones, the best one was, I suppose, was like, taking your fathers or taking your parents' name in vain. I got you a few Hail Marys, I can tell you. But it was just mad. It was just mad. Another thing which we had in junior school as well, on the old Bible bash and religious scales, was I think it was around Good Friday. And it was a religious celebration about the death and resurrection of Jesus, as you do. And it was called Corpus Christi. Now, if I remember rightly, and you'll have to forgive me if I am wrong, because I could very much be wrong. It consisted of having a load of young girls. Yeah, I know. It's not looking good at all, is it? Dressed in white, march around the church, with some boy carrying a pillow with a crown thing on it. I don't know. No, this boy, the girls were easy to, just grab a load of girls and put them in weird white gowns and flowers. It's very weird. But the boy, how they chose this boy every year, it was not down to good looks or name or birth privilege. No, it was to clothes. They had one set of clothes. It was a pair of shorts and a waistcoat and a shirt or something. And if you fitted it, you were the man. Yay, which you get to walk up carrying a pillow. But don't ask. Now, the lucky boy, and guess who that lucky boy was one year? It was me. Yeah, it was me. My God. My God, how happy I was. No, seriously. Seriously, no, I was actually quite happy to do it. There's some photos lurking somewhere. I'll see if I can dig them out for you. But the shorts were far too short and they're far too tight, and but I said photos. I'm cheesy grin. You can swept over hair and carrying this pillow crown thing. I don't know. Exploitation of youth, I call it. But at the time, I think it made sense. Another thing in primary school, which I remember correctly, and I'll probably have friends to back me up on this one, was auditioning for the school choir. Yeah, school choir. Now, I can't sing a note. I really can't. My height of mine is warbling in the shower. Some heavy metal stuff. So I just shout. Really is better. And let's face it, most kids at that age literally just shout and screech and yell, don't they? They don't give a toss. It's fine. Now, how they used to pick for the school choir, our headmaster in primary school, Mr. McCarthy, his name was, Big Mac, we used to call him. Now, he was a massive bloke. Well, anyone's massive when you're like 4 or 5, because you're a midget, aren't you? And they're like, Gah. But he was a big lad. And with the biggest head, he was a big bouffant type thing. Yeah, very stern glass. He had glasses. Very stern bloke. Waistcoat tie down low, always browns or pale greys or shitty browns or very boring colours. And how he used to do it, he used to all stand in a line in rows, and he used to be singing away like, going by, oh my lord, and whatever bloody song they wanted you to sing. It was never anything by Black Sabbath, but and he used to walk up. He used to bend down like this. I can't see. I got hairy ears myself now. He used to walk, and you had this big ear. You had this big ear in your face, and you'd be like, shouting in his thing, and he used to bend right down. And he'd stand there, and he'd stand bolt upright. He didn't even look at you. He didn't allow look at you, and just smack you right across the back of the head. It was not hard. Don't get me wrong. It was like it wasn't a hard wallop. Nothing to cause concussions, shall we say? But if you got walloped on the back of the head, you were in a choir. So you could go off and you could stand off to one side and practice now and again. And on Sundays, on school days, on school days. Church days, you have the privilege of going into St. Duffrig's for church up on a balcony and singing whilst your parents were down below you. So hello, trying to figure out if that was you or not. But yeah, just sing behind a load of Bible bashers and very proud parents. It was weird stuff. Discipline was, when I was going back to the back of the head, discipline was very strict back then. And in our school, in St. Michael's, we had diver dap, which diver dap is a plimsoll. It's a trainer. I can't do that word. It's a trainer. Yeah, plimsoll. We call it diver dap. And we also have a ruler and the cane. The cane was a proper Victorian cane as well. It was good shit. But if you were told off, you got frog marched off, like I did on a constant basis. And hold your hand out, more cane on you. You had the combination of diver dap over your ass, and you bend over and smack straight up your ass. Tell you what, it hurt. Well, I think the idea was, sorry, I just dropped the battery. I think the idea was you didn't learn, if you learned by it. I did, but it took me a few times. After I got caught sink running several times. But it sunk in eventually. I'm pretty sure my parents knew all about it. But discipline was taken care of in the school. So they didn't have to do it. We learned by it. Yeah. You were always being watched, no matter what you were doing or where you were, even at dinner times. There'd be a teacher prowling the tables, making sure you ate your food, and if you did anything wrong, they literally got you to stand up on a chair, in the middle of the school hall, and just stand there, whilst everyone's just eating just watching you as you're standing on a chair, because I don't know, you left some veg or some meat, or I don't know, it was bizarre. But again, you didn't mess up again, because if you messed up again, you had the embarrassment of having to stand on your chair or go and sit in the corner. And it worked. That's an argument for a later date, isn't it? But even in out of school, the discipline was there. You had the local bob. You don't have them now as much. I don't see him around. But you had the local policeman who used to walk around. Now, growing up, you were scared of him. You had respect for him, but you were scared of him because you knew that if you messed up, you'd be knocking on your mum and dad's house, and you'd be in poop. Yeah, you'd be poop. But they all said hello, and you all said that. And I think my mum and dad brought me up with ethos, which I tried to step in now. If like, if you got nothing to hide, you have nothing to fear. So why hate them for doing their job, type thing. It was a bit mad. It was a bit mad. Yeah. I'm gonna leave it there now. When we come back, I'll be carrying on with chapter 1, so it'll be chapter 1A, I suppose. So please, I hope you enjoyed it, and if you have any questions, by all means, please leave them in the links below, or just leave them in the link below and I'll get to it. Alright, and I will answer them. I will answer them all. Anyway, guys, hope you enjoyed the first 25 minutes. Christ, 25 minutes. I've got to cut that down.